Hi, my name is Beth Hiley, here for Board Game Geek at Spiel 2012. I'm sitting down with Michael Grenzle of Pegasus Spiel.
This is right.
How are you doing?
I'm doing really fine.
Yeah, we're right at the end of Friday.
Yes.
And you've brought us a multi-language title here, which you've just told me is The Dwarves in English, and...
It's Die Zwerge.
Yeah, see, I left that one for you. Because you would do much more justice to it than I would in German. All right, we're just going to take a really quick look at this. Although I'd love, you just mentioned this before we started recording, that this is also a book.
That's right. This is a book, it's a fantasy book written here in Germany first by a German author called Die Zwerge, and made it later into an international book called The Dwarves. It has been a huge, tremendous success here. It has been written in the time when the first Lord of the Rings movies came out, of course. There was one publishing house who thought, like, what can I do about this whole success, because we don't have the rights for the Lord of the Rings. So he started like doing other books in like with tribes and people, and especially like folks, which has not been covered by the Lord of the Rings in depth. So they started having that. I think the first one is actually from an English author, for the orcs, Nicholls, and so that brought the idea to do the dwarves, which is a highly popular race here in Germany. It's probably the most popular fantasy race overall, the dwarves. And the author written it has been taken by surprise by the success, basically, and he's written 4 books of it. And the game here is only about the first book, so about what's happening there. And we made it now into a cooperative board game, which is available at the very moment in German, but we have the international rights, so it should be made into an English version soon.
All right, well, why don't you just give us a quick walkthrough of what potentially a turn might look like.
Absolutely, I would love to do that. First of all, I want to tell everybody who's not here and doesn't come to Essen that we have also a collector's edition for it.
Sure do, yeah.
And if you're a collector, you get also this very dwarfish, I don't know how you say, Bierstein?
Bierstein
here. And we have even a beer sponsoring partner here who gives out a bottle of beer for it. And there's several other things like an art book and like art prints for it, like special cards. And so, but the game is the same. So the normal game and then this game is the same. So still, when you get it, you get the same game. Yeah, so it's fair enough for people who just want to have the game.
All right.
So talking about the game.
Here, we're going to leave that right there with me.
I get it back.
You will get it back.
They have numbers. Okay, the game itself, it's a cooperative. It's not semi-cooperative or anything. It's like you really have to stick together.
Full team.
Because the game is following the book, and in the book they're like the dwarves and they're the heroes, and all the others they're the villains basically. And there's no point in like playing the others like the orcs or the dark elves, which you call albe here, and or the trolls, because nobody wants to play them. They're just evil, and they're only being slaughtered in the book. So nobody wants to play them. So we started very early in the development process to say like it's being cooperative. So you can play 5 of the 12. There's one absolute hero. His name is Tumbil. This is this guy.
Yes.
He's a very undwarfish dwarf. We have miniatures for them as well, but we usually don't have when we make board games when they're not fantasy. And Tungdil is actually not even a real dwarf, because he's been raised by a wizard. And so he's really undwarfish and really strange to his other dwarf. So his helpers here, they help him in the book, they help him to become a dwarf, and in the game they help him to fulfill the prophecy what has been made about him. So what's happened? In this book, the story is that there is a country or an area where the dwarves take care of all the good people and all the good races. They defend the mountains, and that's their job for centuries, for millenniums, basically. And right when the game starts and the book starts, basically, this surrounding these fortresses have shattered, basically. And all the evil people and races come in. This means here the dark elves and the trolls and the orcs, of course, and you can see them on the board here.
Yep.
They are things. And game-wise, when we play cooperative, it means basically we roll a dice to see how many evil guys come in. They are only symbolized, because they're not worth any miniatures, by these little tokens, like wooden tokens, basically. And if you fight them, they have different strengths. So this is like the fantasy thing. one thing which is a bit of a pandemic style, mostly is that these guys spread out. If they come, because you roll a die, there can be many or less, and if they become more and more and more, basically, then they pour over the whole country. If there are too many, then the country dies. It's called the Deadlands, and it's also in the book. And then the Deadlands can spread out and spread out and spread out. And basically, if the heroes move over the Deadland, they have to pay 1 life point. So here we have the life point counter. You can see that the best guys, they have 4 life points. So you cannot travel fast if you miss out on fighting your enemies here. But this is not the heart of the game. The heart of the game is like working together. You all have different strengths to do something. But because it's not a pandemic, it's the dwarves. It's fantasy-like. You have dice.
And here we'll put one of these in the middle so people can see what one of the characters.
Yeah, you can see like you have
here.
like 4 dice to fight with him. He's a berserk basically. So he has 4 dice. He can roll as 4 times. Or this guy, he's really good in like handiwork. He's a craftsman. He has 4 dice like doing this. So this becomes very important later. All dwarves can move only 2 dice far because you know dwarves are not very fast. So. What do they do? The game basically runs in rounds. These rounds are shown here. Runs all along this way. And each round, one of the gates where the dwarves hold their stand guard is being attacked by the evil guy. So at first it's the gate number 5, or the fortress number 5, let's say, and it's 5 again, then 1, 5, and so on and so on and so on. So the guys have always to move around and fight them and fight back, but that's not their mission. Their mission is basically why did that happen with the fortresses? Because why did this crumble in the first place? Especially number 5 has been destroyed even longer ago. There's one evil emperor, one evil wizard within the country of the good guys. There's one evil wizard, and this evil wizard actually made it possible for the bad guys to get in. So you actually have to fight him as a dwarf.
It's really making me want to read the book, actually.
Yeah, but as a dwarf fighting a wizard, it's always a really bad thing. That you're not, dwarves are not really good with magic.
Right.
So what they need is a really good magic weapon. And this magic weapon is called the fire axe. And this magical fire axe they have to make. It's all the book is about, making this magical fire axe to slaughter basically the wizard guy. All things what's happening here is leading to they can make the fire axe. You actually, the difference to the book is you don't have to do it this way. You can do it differently, but it's much harder without it, because the wizard of course is really strong, and he is clever, and he has of course magical power, so it's even harder. But so it's your free decision what to do. But you always have to keep track of the bad guys basically.
Now, how do the dwarves win?
The dwarves win. There are many ways to die for the dwarf.
As is typical in a co-op.
Yeah, and there's only one way to win. The one way to win is you have to win against the evil wizard. He's called Nodun. Here I don't know how it's pronounced in English, because I don't know how it's pronounced in German either. Nodun. And this evil wizard has been a good wizard and turning into an evil wizard, because he's like possessed by a demon actually, blah blah blah, and so on. So, but it's a really interesting book. So, and you basically have to fight him and win against him. So this is very important for you. You can die many ways, because if one of your company dies, you lose the game. So all dwarves must survive. You cannot sacrifice one. I know that dwarf is like to sacrifice himself, but these 5 heroes, they must survive. So the other thing is like this time counter, the round counter, it counts round, it's also death counter, because here when it starts getting bad, there's a second counter going back in this counter, and then the 2 counters move to each other. So each time something bad happens, the counter here goes back, so you have less time. Nothing's happening here, but it's just like
so you can't exactly predict when the game's going to end either.
You cannot, right? You cannot predict when the game's going to end. Exactly. So, and of course, when I said like it's like a pandemic, one part of the other part is complete fantasy. You have your dwarf, they have strengths, they have different, how do you say, like numbers here, like how much life they have and how strong they are. And of course, you can find things for them, so they get stronger, or they get a shield, or get some extra boots, or they get a weapon. Or they need this metal
anvil.
Yeah, to do it, you can have an axe extra, you need these two together to work it together. You can also have a dwarfish song. Basically, dwarfish song helps you to keep up morale. And you have, very important, the beer, moral. So.
Hence the beer stein. Now, we know this is going to be published in English, but do you have an idea of when it will make it to the States?
We don't know it.
Not yet.
It's just been out here in Germany for the German-speaking territories, but we have the exclusive license for the worldwide rights, and we would be happy to publish it very soon there, because I think it's a great game by itself. It's even greater if you know the book, because it follows the book on the one hand, but it gives you a complete freedom to decide what you do first. You want to fight the bad guys. You want to follow what is your mission there, like mission cards you follow basically during the game, and what you want to do first. You have to decide by yourself. But you always have to make sure that your dwarves survive and that they stick together basically as a bunch of heroes. Yeah. So, but every player plays one dwarf. It's very important, and they all have a certain role. And there's a ding dong.
Oh, pause for 1 second. We just got to wait for the announcement to finish.
Shall I dance?
Da die Messe seit 19 Uhr geschlossen ist, möchten wir Sie bitten, das Messegelände umgehend zu verlassen. Vielen Dank. Dear visitors, as the show is closed since 7 p.m., we would now ask you kindly to leave the fairground property. Thank you.
At least you put the please in today. All right. Well, I have to say, I'm really hoping that this makes it stateside soon, but I'm tempted to go download the book on my Kindle for the flight ride home. So.
There's an English version of it, and not only in English, but I think English should be sufficient for you. So, but there's an English version of it, actually 4 books of it. So it's a whole
series.
A whole series. Like, what is 4? It's not a trilogy. It's a trilogy plus 1.
Quadrilogy.
And it even continues. The storyline continues there, because after that he wrote books about the evil guys, the Dark Elves, which he calls Albe, and he has books about them as well. And in our collector's edition, which might be then included in the US version, is a small extra pack which has this is about the Albe, what you can do with them when they try to conquer the land. So.
Hey, maybe an expansion someday.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for showing us the dwarves.
You're welcome.